Hello, my name is Chris Reinhardt. I'm a Stampin' Up! Demonstrator in Ormond Beach, Florida. Welcome to my craft table. I am uploading another video this week, so it's kind of a bonus video. I made a card the other night and I was so excited about how it turned out that I couldn't wait to share it with everyone, so I decided to make an extra video this week. I saw this card done by Susan Campfield a couple weeks ago, and I made the card exactly like she did first, just to try it out. And this is the card that she made. She calls it an accordion tab card, I believe. And you open it up, there's the accordion and there's the tab. I really like the fold because it's very simple to do. I'm not fond of having colored cardstock on my card bases though. I prefer to have just a small border of the colored cardstock covered with either DSP or a white layer. So I made another card using that same format, and this is the one that I made, and I really like it, but the problem with it is I like embossed layers. So I used heavy white cardstock for the base, and then on top of that I have a white layer. And I've used the Retired Subtle embossing folder again. I just love that. I can't get enough of it. But I used the layer of the embossed layer on the front and the two inside panels. So that makes the card pretty thick. I've also embossed I don't know what you would call that, the spine of the card. And let's see, I used the Paradise Garden embossing folder there. And then I've got a double mat instead of a single mat along with the DSP, so that does make for a hefty card. So much so that I decided not to put the flap in. It just would be too bulky, and I do like it without the flap. So that was my second card. The one we're going to make today, I'm using the Forever Florals, and I just absolutely love this set. You might recognize the front of this card. I cased it from the Stampin' Up website for this bundle. They have some sample projects with it, and I really liked their sample, so I pretty much cased theirs. I just added an extra flower or two, and I added the gems on the flowers. And then the inside I really love too. I carried over the flowers here, the smaller bunch, on some vellum. And it's thin enough now that I can use the tab. So this is the card we're going to be making today. Let me show you what you need. I'll set this aside because I will need to refer to it. Okay, the first thing we're going to need, well, let me show you the supplies first of all. The supplies we're going to use are the Forever Florals Stamp and Die set. And here's the Thinking of You that we're going to gold emboss. I stamped and die cut these flowers, this little flower here, and of course we use this big die here for the cover. This was the inside die, and I cut some leaves and this bunch of flowers and a small bunch of flowers. So use this a lot. I embossed with the Pressed Flowers embossing folder for the inside. Use the Spotlight on Nature, the second largest die. And then for the sentiments, let's see, the tab was Sending Smiles from the Lovely Arrangements. And then the sentiment itself is Your friendship means the world to me, and that's from Gathering Moments. So those are the products that I used. Now you're going to start out with a card base that is 5.5 by 11, and then you're going to score it at 4, 5.5, and 7. What I do is I scored it at 4, 5.5, turned my paper over, and did it at 4 again. It's easier than pulling out the arm, I think. So that's our card base. You're going to be cutting out, as I mentioned, that large die from the Forever Florals, and we'll be coloring that. I'll show you that in a little bit. The inside, here is the embossed layer, and it is 3 7/8 by 5 1/4. And I will post these measurements on the description. And then you're going to need a piece of vellum for the Spotlight on Nature. And then you're going to die cut that other smaller bunch of flowers, and we'll color those. The inside layer is Highland Heather, and it is 3 7/8 by 5 1/4. And then the basic white layer is 3 3/4 by 5 1/8. And the tab is Highland Heather. Now I used a scrap piece, so it's a little bit smaller than what Susan used. You can use mine, you can use her measurement. My measurement was 3 3/4 by 1 1/2 for the Highland Heather. And for the white, it was 3 5/8 by 1 3/8. That fit my sentiment fine. Okay, well, let's get started. Now, as I mentioned, we're going to be coloring the die cut. I colored this one, and we'll color the inside one together so I can show you how to do it. But I used, what did I use? What color was that? I think it was Granny Apple Green, yes. And I used the watercolor brush with it. So what you're going to do is you're going to put that here on the front of your card, but don't glue it down yet, because we're going to want to heat emboss our sentiment, and we want to make sure that we get it in the right spot. So it will be going right here, and let's go ahead and do that. Okay, all right, where did there it is, Versamark. And we want to make sure you use your embossing buddy, especially on this. You don't want embossing powder where it doesn't belong. Ink this up. And I like to put it on a mat. So I use my silicone mat. You can use the piercing mat as well, but I use the silicone mat. It's good enough. Now I want to make sure that I put that where it belongs. And then get my thinking of you. I want to make a good impression and get the Versamark transferred good on there. So I let it set for a minute or a few seconds. There we go. And now we'll heat emboss it in gold. I don't know that I got a great impression there, but it's going to have to do. See if I add a little more on there. There we go. Yeah, that's better. Okay. And I'll pour that back in later. Get our heat tool. You want to warm it up a little bit first. I start on the back. It doesn't take long, but you want to make sure you do it enough to get all of the powder melted. I had a little almost disaster on my original. I don't think you can see it on camera, but my Y wasn't completely stamped, and so the powder didn't stick there, and I didn't notice that. But I had a gold pen, so I drew it. The gold doesn't match perfectly, but I think it's close enough that you can't really tell. So make sure that you heat emboss it all the way through. Let it cool off a little. So now we're ready to put our die cut on the front. And you just need to get mostly just the edges and a few of the leaves, especially the ones in the center that are open. So that if somebody bumps into it, it isn't going to rip up. It's secured good there. And then a couple of them inside is good. The leaves are the easiest thing to put glue on. I think that'll do it. Okay. And the paper is a little warped from being heat embossed, so I'm going to put a big block over it to flatten it out and press down. That's another reason you might want to put a little more glue on than I did. Okay. Next thing you're going to do is we need the flowers and the leaves and the gold foil. So you're going to stamp these flowers and then 3 single flowers in Highland Heather and die cut those out. And also what I did for the leaves, you could have used just green cardstock, but I like the look of inking it on some white cardstock because it's more variegated rather than a solid green. So I did that. I just brushed some green on there. And since the leaves are what did I say? Granny apple green, I made these leaves a little bigger or a little darker so that they'll stand out. So we'll put those about like that. And then here's the other leaves and the 2 gold foils. So let's work on that now. I have to admit, I wanted to film this last night so I could get it posted today. And after dinner, I started it, and I knew that Survivor was starting at 8 o'clock. So I was rushing through, and I ended up putting the embossed piece that goes inside on the back of the card. So I had to recut everything. I guess I could probably send it. It would make the back of the card finished. But I didn't want you all to see that. I don't mind telling you about it, but I'd rather you see a perfect one. Okay, and we'll put that one here. And again, I'm going to put blocks on these while I'm getting the other things ready. I put the gold foil down next. I put the large one at the bottom. And you can decorate this however you want. You can add more flowers, less flowers, however you want it. I pretty much stuck with what the card in the sample project was like. I changed it just a little bit. Okay. Now I did put the flowers on dimensionals. Are any of you Survivor fans? That was the 50th season. I cannot believe I've been watching Survivor for 25 years. I've watched every episode. Love that show. Okay. I don't know if it's placed exactly the same place, but let's see. I need my tweezers for these little ones. They were kind of hard to get through the die cut machine because they were so small. It was hard to line up the die with the stamp because it was so tiny. Okay, I put one there. And then 2 down here. 1. And then I will be extra careful when I start on the inside to make sure I don't make that same mistake. Okay, we'll add the gems after we finish the rest of the card. I don't want them to get bumped off, and they'll need to dry. All right, we're ready for the inside. Now that's where I use the embossed layer. There we go. I just got a order in about 20 minutes before I started this video. I can't wait to start playing with them. Well, this doesn't look like, it looks like it's too long. I'm going to chop a little off, even though I've got glue on it. What did I say it should be? I said it should be inside 5 1/4. Let's see if it actually is. 5 1/4. Nope, it's 5 1/2. There we go. I'll have to clean off my cutter. There we go. That's better. And I can also see that my front is hanging over a little bit, so I'm going to trim that later. Well, it even looks like it's a little wider. It's supposed to be 3 7/8, not 4. So I must have made a regular standard inside, and this is a smaller card. There we go. So don't do like I do. Yeah, you want to measure twice, glue down once. There we go. Okay. That was work. Now we're going to work on the flowers. I've got most of it colored. I just want to show you a little bit. I colored the flowers themselves. Highland Heather. There's one that's not poked out. And then the leaves I said was Granny Apple Green. So my water brush is right here. All you need to do is put a little ink from your ink pad on an acrylic block. Put a little water on there. And I like to have a paper towel handy because sometimes too much water comes out. And mix it around a little bit. And then just brush the color on your leaves. It's as simple as that. It's time consuming. I imagine you could probably use your blends, but I do like the way the watercolor, some parts are dark and some parts are a little lighter. I like that look. It'll dry a little lighter than it's showing up here. And really you don't have to be perfect because it's kind of an abstract look. It has an abstract look to it. And I'm going to let this dry before I do anything else. So I'll work on the back while this is drying. It doesn't take too long. So that's all you do for the flowers and the leaves. Okay, let's set that aside for now and work on our back. I'll flip this over in case there's ink there. All right, we're going to stamp our sentiments. Let's go ahead and get our tab also. I might as well get both of them stamped at the same time. Now I used, let's see, Your Friendship Means the World to Me, and that's done in Highland Heather. Good. And then for the tab, Sending Smiles. I like that sentiment. Okay. So we can glue those to the mats. I want to remind everybody to use their reward coupons because they expire Saturday. So if you still have some left, make sure that you use them up. You don't want to lose them. Okay, there's that. And then the back panel. Ooh, it's gotten hot. It is warming up nicely, finally. Wish it would rain though. We need some rain badly. We're in a severe drought here. There we go. Okay. Double checking to make sure I have that on the right spot. Wouldn't put it past me to do it twice. Okay, we can put our back panel on. Well, having to redo it actually gave me the opportunity to go back to Granny Apple Green. I did my leaves in Mossy Meadow and I actually didn't like them. I should have looked to see what this was measured at because I don't know if this might be wrong too, but it's down, so. There we go. Okay, we'll do the Sending Smiles after we do the other side. We're going to glue this to the vellum, and then when we glue the vellum down, we're only going to put glue where you see the white from the die cut. So, and you want to put a a good amount of glue on here so that it really stays down on that vellum. So put a few dots on the flowers too, besides the leaves. It's really a simple card. This one took a long time because of all the coloring, but I do like this layout because it's you can just use any DSP with it, and it's a fun fold. All right, that looks good. Doesn't matter how you put it because it's a circle. Put that on there. For just a second. There we go. Those blocks really come in handy. Now, like I said, just put glue where you see the white from the die cut, because the glue will show through the vellum and it doesn't look very pretty. And you don't want to put too much because it'll ooze out too. Try and get some of the flour so that it sticks pretty well. Secure. You want it really secure on here. Okay. I think I like it that way. And then just put it in the middle. And again, put a block on that. And we're ready to put our tab on there. And the tab will only get glued where it touches this first side of the fold. So you don't want to go past that. So kind of make a mental note where it goes. And sometimes I put a little at the edge here in case I haven't gone down far enough. And you want to put it in the crease, so you're making sure that it will fold. Okay, that looks straight. And I always check to make sure there's no glue oozing out. Okay, now we're ready to put our gems. I think on the sample they had some gems here. I couldn't find any gems that were small enough to go on these flowers, and I really wanted gems on the flowers. So I have some of these, I think they're called diamond dots. I got them on Amazon, so they're not real diamond dots. And I have some little yellow ones, so I'm going to use these. And they're kind of fiddly to work with, but they really look nice. All right, let me get my take your pick. I think one flew over there. There it is. All right, so we're going to put some glue. And I see one on my card that fell too. Just in the little centers of the flowers. There's one right there that fell. If I'm lucky, it'll come off, but it didn't yesterday, so can't imagine why it would today. There it goes. There we go. That one stayed good. Okay, none of these are right side up. Oh, that one stayed too. All right, let me get some more of these right side up so I'm ready for them, because there's like 6 of them on this side. Have you ever worked with these diamond dots? I've got a whole drawer of them in all different colors. And I've got enough of them to last me a lifetime, that's for sure. But they're nice to have because sometimes you need just a tiny little embellishment. Okay, let's get the dots on these flowers. There we go. And then pick them up. I hope my head isn't in the way, but I gotta see. These are tiny. And sometimes they don't want to come off that putty. Oh, I moved that one with my hand. Not sure I'm going to use these on this particular card again. It'd be nice if they were self-adhesive like our gems are. There we go. Let's see, that one's upside down, that one's right. I guess you could color that in with your markers, like I said, but I really like the little yellow centers with these. So I apologize for taking so long to do this. One more. Yes, that looks good. What do you think? I think it's adorable. Sending smiles. Your friendship means the world to me. Okay, let's get our cards out and look at the samples that I had. Clean this up a little bit. Right. Where's my glue pen? Here it is. So here's the one we made today. Here's my original sample. The flowers are in different spots, but here's the one I really like, but it's just too thick. So I'm going to try making that one again without the layers and try embossing the card base itself. And then there's the original one that Susan made that I cased first. Let me see if I can zoom in a little bit. There we go. Do you have a favorite? I think this is my favorite, but I like them both actually. I would have liked this one if it was a white card base, I think. All right, well, I wanted to get this video up, so I'm going to quick edit it and get it loaded and let you know that it's up. If you're a subscriber and you've hit the bell, you'll be notified when it's ready to view. If you're not a subscriber, please do think about subscribing to my channel if you like the cards that you see. And then I would appreciate a like, and if you hit the bell, you will be notified whenever I do post a video. I normally post them on Monday mornings around 11 a.m. Eastern time. But as I said, I just wanted to get this one out there because I was excited about how it looked. All right, well, that's it for now. Just remember, making and receiving handmade cards, that's what joy feels like. I'll see you on Monday. Bye-bye.